Chibok girl might be looking nice facially and but inside of her, since 2014, I don't think all is well with her mental upstairs, because our 2 children still in the hand of the terrorist father, 2 and 5. She's going to be traumatized.
5 and 2.
3 children.
3 children. 5 and 2. She'll definitely be traumatized.
I don't know how a mother will feel without 3 of her kids. The oldest being 7, the youngest being 2. It's not something that gives a mother joy. So wherever she is, she can't be happy. Another problem is the stigmatization of these people by our people. Once she stayed for that long with terrorists, they tend to be stigmatized by family members and neighbors. We've seen for that reason some of them even return to the forest to reunite with their terrorist husbands. So we have to take concrete steps to look after these people, to not make them not feel like going back like others. Because when you stigmatize them, you treat them like half human beings, just because you are still looking at her like a terrorist because she was forcefully married to a terrorist. There's no way she would not feel very bad and even regret sneaking out of captivity, because a lot of them actually sneaked out of captivity. A lot of, not that we use military means to rescue them. You and I know it's not feasible to use military means. They are going to, the collateral damage will be massive. So most of them will sneak out, and once they see them straying around, the military will then ask them questions. Once they introduce themselves properly, they take them into safety. So this is what has been happening. All of those guests, the Shekau promised that he will marry them off to his commanders, and that's what he has done. You know, one time when I talked about Shekau, I said, the Shekau that I know doesn't lie. There was nothing they didn't say about me. But whenever he says something, if Shekau takes responsibility for a bombing at anywhere, you know that indeed these people did it. That was the point that I was making. If he said, I did this, he did it. If he said, I didn't do this, he didn't do it. They felt I was praising him. Some of them were even calling me terrorists. People with diseased minds on social media. They were even calling me, they said I was supporting Shekau. People who can't risk their lives the way I've risked my life to expose some of the activities of these people. They are calling me Shekau's acolyte. You know, Nigeria on social media, we are very talented at abusing people. Look at ordinary cooking competition to get into Guinness Book of World Records. Nigerians are trolling the woman who used to hold the record. They've been abusing her to the point that the woman said, let's have peace. What is all this? That's the woman who held the record before Hilda. Nigerians on social media have been attacking her, saying that, all she could do were meat pies and sausages, you know. Just ridiculing her because the Nigerian contested against her. We are now known for just trolling people. The same way, the same thing that they were doing to me, because I said, Shekau, when he says something, he goes ahead to do it. And it was said, you know, like an, what do you call it? Like in a metaphoric sense, like a figure of speech, the Shekau that I know, meaning that the reputation that he had was to say something and people will find out that indeed he did it. Many people didn't know that Boko Haram attempted to bomb the yes. Until Shekau himself came out to say, he said, I did it. But unfortunately for him, the woman did not have this requisite skill to
make the
yes. So that saved us. The whole of those town farms would have been on fire. You know, he came out to say he did it, whereas government was denying that time that
the managed information.
Yes,
I remember.
he said no, it didn't happen. So this is the thing. He warned at that time that I will marry these girls to my fighters. Has it not happened now? How many of those Chibok girls that you have seen outside that you didn't see it at home babies? This is what has happened. He said it and he went ahead and did it when we didn't rescue them on time.
But 9 years after. Well, the parents, even the parents, they would have lost hope. I don't think this is the daughter they left. And some of those girls, they've been married, they've lost their husband, they're
married and married.
They're married and married over and over again.
Well, I think, like BKO said, and which I also pointed out on the program a few weeks back, what these people who are coming from this terror zone will need first is to work on their psyche. It must be weaned over time of the trauma they have gone through. I can imagine how this girl will feel, especially remembering days when the military will attack or there is a confrontation and you keep hearing all the AK-47, the bazookas and everything flying in different directions. And then not to talk of our children still being with the terrorists. I think for her and others who have been coming out, what the Borno State government has been doing should take a firmer route. Create special schools for them where you can work on them because they need to get back to school. Let it not be that they are moving from their homes to school on daily basis. Take them away first. Let them be psychologically, emotionally, socially, spiritually, and physically fit before you send them back into the society. Let them be able to have answers to certain questions people will be asking them. Because there will be questions, no doubt about that. But they should get to a point where instead of crying, answering those questions, they should be able to say to them what actually transpired and teach them the lessons that they learned from that experience.
Jimmy, let's touch on the suicide bomber, that guy that actually was on the watch list and in spite of that still succeeded in blowing himself up.
What we were told was that they were closing in on him and he preferred to take his own life before they got to him. Terrorists do this a lot, especially hardened terrorists. Hardened terrorists are people with capacity and with information, so they would rather die than face the indignity of being questioned or being interrogated with a view to getting more facts from them before making them to face justice. Shekau was confronted by that kind of situation when Al-Banawi's boys surrounded him and he felt, no, you are not going to
take me alive.
Yes, the privilege of taking me alive. He used his suicide belt to take his own life. And they didn't forgive Al-Banawi himself. The remnants of his own boys, who were supposed to be integrated into one Boko Haram unit, but who were already commanders and high-ranking officers in Boko Haram. They felt that at ISWAP, they will be marginalized, they will be deranked, they will be diminished. They then launched their own attack, came together, and they wounded Al-Banawi seriously, and he died from his injuries. That was how we lost the two remaining factional leaders. You know, there used to be 3 factional leaders: Al-Banawi, and Mama Noor were the two leaders of ISWAP. Mama Noor was like a father to them. He was a politician in Borno State when suddenly he joined this group. He's like a father figure. In fact, he married Abanawi's mom, you know, and he was the leader of the group. It was felt that he will eventually push for making peace with Nigerian troops. So they detained him and eventually sentenced him to death in their camp, in the islands of Lake Chad, and eventually they wasted him. So we are down to one factional leader. After ISWAP gave Albanawi, who had also been detained after a palace coup within their group, ISWAP now took the decision to make Albanawi the Amir again. He became the Amir for the second time and then led that operation to dislodge Shekau. They were trying to form just one group. Yes, because the Shekau group had more members and had bigger territories.
Sambisa,
yes, the whole of Sambisa belonged to them. All of the Mandara Mountains, leading right up to the border with Cameroon, Shekau's people were in charge. So they were eyeing all of those territories and all that. So they moved in to see whether they can unite both groups so that they will be more formidable. Because it's easy to deal with the ISWAP people because they occupy a small area. But you know, when they occupy a big area, it will be a big challenge for the military. How many places will you bomb? So in the end, Albanawi too lost his life when he suffered injury. And Shekau's boys are still in Sambisa and several other areas. Yes, including even Goza, the Goza. Those of them who fired RPG at troops, they are still Shekau's people in those areas. So the way it is now, those guys are still there, and if a terrorist can still be bombing himself in Kaduna, if bombing is still taking place in Taraba, that is to tell us that, look, these guys still have some cells, some sleeper cells that we have to do our best to identify and then deal with the people who are controlling them. That's something, because if we allow them to regroup again and start doing what they were doing pre-2015, when they will be bombing communities, then we'll be in trouble. It's a message to us that there are still terrorists mingling with our people.
All right, moving on now.